Om Sahna Bhavatu Sahno Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Satchidananda Rupaya Vishvotpathyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om, salutations to all. So we are seeing in the fifth canto the life of Jada Bharat. We saw in this chapter 9 that Jada Bharat, he was Raja Bharat, who was the son of Rishabh Devji, and he ruled gloriously. Of our country is named after him. And then he renounced the world, pursuing the absolute truth. But he got attached to a deer. And he died in that memory of that deer. The deer had gone away. Both the deer and the seeker, Bharat, Jada Bharat, they both died together. But the mind of this Bharat was on the deer. So in the next life, he is born as a deer. But because he had done sadhana, he was devoted to Bhagavan, he understood his mistake, he was repentant, he had the memory of his past life, and he understood that this is a result of my attachment, and so he was born as a deer. He left his family as a deer also, came to the same ashram, and he used to stay there, and then he dropped the body as a deer. Now, when he was born again, he is born in a Brahmana's family. Now, what was his name? That is not known. Actually, what was his name is not known. But he had the spiritual samskars and he is actually enlightened in this birth, as they call him Jada Bharat. Definitely the name would not be Jada Bharat. The Brahman would have kept his some other name, but that is not known. Now there is a very beautiful portion which says that how one, see, this is the last birth of Jada Bharat. He is enlightened already. How does one know that this is my last birth? There are some signs which can possibly indicate. Some of the signs are like this. From childhood, one has a spiritual mindset, outlook. Second, karma has left that person. As long as karma is there in the mind of a person, punarjanma will keep happening. Lust, passion, selfishness, these are causes of punarjanma. One person has become nishkama. Third, the person sees the divine everywhere. So the mind is revels in Bhagavan. When one is in sadhana, when one is in vyavahar, one sees the Lord. One feels, one's bhav is that I am worshipping the Lord or I am interacting with Bhagavan, all this is divine. Fourth, there may be great sense of humility, compassion, straightforwardness. So these are some signs of how a person will know that this is my last birth. And of course, illumination, the knowledge of the self if one has already had, then there is no question of birth and death after that. When the prarabdha of the body is over, the body will drop. The Jivan Mukta anyway has gone beyond birth and death even when the body is there. So, Jada Bharat, he was born and he was called Jada Bharat because he is not taking interest in the world. He lives like an inert person as though, disinterested completely. But that is what the Gita also says, Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutanam Tasyam Jagrati Sanyami Yasyam Jagrati Bhutani Sa Nisha Pashyato Munehe. The world to which the ordinary people are awake, to that world this Mahatma is asleep. And the reality to which this great master is awake, the world is asleep to that. So those people who are actually asleep, they are calling him Jada Bharat. He is the one who has experienced Chaitanya, is experiencing Chaitanya inside, outside, everywhere. But the people who are asleep, they are calling him Jada Bharat because he looks like a madman, dull person, doesn't interact much. And that he was putting on a show because he didn't want to further get attached, and he wouldn't even speak because he said, I got attached there to a deer, and this Vyavahara only keeps this, that opportunity comes where one does Vyavahar and then one speaks and then one starts interacting and then one gets attached. So he said, I will cut out both, no speaking also, no Vyavahar also. And act opposite. Act as a dull person, act as a, somebody who is completely disinterested, anything in the world, can't grasp anything properly. So the father, the Brahmana, he tried, that he tried to do his initiation and, the Upanayana Samskar and teach him the Gayatri Mantra, but he did not learn. Some 50, 60 times he taught him. He didn't learn. Obviously, he knows the Gayatri Mantra, obviously he has grasped it, etc. But he showed that he can't learn, he can't grasp. And so this father, he was very kind, compassionate. He tried a lot, but he couldn't do anything. And finally, the father also had, as time passes, so he became old and the father died. Now, what happened here? Father has passed away, so the step brothers who are there, they said, what is the use of, spending anything on him for his education or, getting him um, any comforts. He's a dull person, he's a dull-witted fellow. Nothing much will happen with him. Might as well use him for some work. Because if he's not ready and he's not acquiring knowledge and he's not going to become, in that sense, a Brahmana, then might as well, utilize him for some manual labor. So they stop all his learning and they don't understand that he is living the higher way of life, the essence of the Vedic knowledge he is living. He doesn't need to study the Veda. So they stop all his education and they they even ill-treat him. So they, address him as mad, dull, deaf, dumb. He doesn't protest at all. They give him some work. Some people even force him to work for no wages, just free. He doesn't bother. He acts, he does the work for them. And the food also they don't give him properly. Whatever comes on on its own, that food he will eat. And in fact, his brothers give him stale food. It is written here that food that is what we call it has become putrefied, or it has started There are worms in it. Such type of food also they give him. He doesn't bother at all. He eats because he doesn't eat for taste. So if you see his life, he looks like a madman, but his mind revels in Bhagwan. He has complete sense control. He doesn't have any attachment to taste, especially the attachment to taste is a very uh, strong attachment that is there in all of us. To overcome that is very difficult. Here he is somebody who has that level of vairagya that automatically that attachment to taste is not there. Not only attachment to taste is not there, his body doesn't get affected by whatever food he is eating, even if it is spoilt or it is infected. He eats because his mind revels in something else only. And so he is unaffected by what the way in which the people treat him. He doesn't even cover his body properly. He has a strong body. With all this ill treatment and the lack of proper food, etc., also his body is quite strong. And so he doesn't cover his body properly, it is dirty. And his spiritual effulgence is as though covered because of all this. Because it's not that, he is living some kind of a luxurious life or where he has some rich clothes and all that and his face is glowing. No, he doesn't take bath for some days. He doesn't eat food properly. People think he's a mad person. So his spiritual effulgence is like as though a gem is covered by mud. So it is like that. That's an analogy that is given. A dirty loin cloth he wears. Even his janevu has become dark, black. And so people would insult him, they would neglect him, and he would wander here and there because they threw him out. The brothers also threw him out of the house finally because the work that they would give him, he won't do properly because they will give more work then. They told him to level a field. Instead of leveling the field, he went and dug a pit there. Wantedly. Because he didn't want his sadhana, his remembrance of the divine to be affected. And anyway, they are not treating him properly. And he didn't want that bondage of the house. So when they sent him out of the house, he said, Chalo, I got free now. Now I can wander wherever I want, do what I want. Please remember, this is limitation of language that what I want, it is not selfish. It's just that he has cut all bonds. Enlightened being already, he doesn't actually need to do sadhana to realize. He is already enlightened. So no interest at all in maintaining any family bond and relationship, nothing. So when they kicked him out of the house, he went wandering here, there, doing any work that was available. Sometimes he was just lying there, eat whatever food comes. So that way, um, so they say that the broken rice, oil cakes, chaff of rice, worm-eaten grains, burnt grains that stuck to the pot, all this. Sometimes the family has given him that, sometimes the people have given him all that, but he doesn't bother. He accepts everything. So food-wise, reputation-wise, respect-wise, anything that the world did to him, he didn't bother only. That's why it said here that he was determined to finish his business in the material world, meaning karma has to get over. This body has some prarabdha, it has to finish. And he doesn't care about respect and all that because his mind is absorbed in Bhagavan, in remembering the Supreme, reveling in that state, higher state. So what is good, what is evil, what is happiness, what is sorrow? He is gone beyond. One of the meanings of this equanimity, when we say Tulya Ninda Stutirmauni Santushto Yena Kena Chit, in the 12th chapter in the Gita, Bhagavan says these are qualities of a devotee. Tulya Ninda Stuti. In Ninda and Stuti, one is same. Mauni doesn't speak much. Santushto yena kenachit is happy with whatever comes the way. He doesn't run behind anything. Aniketa sthiramatihi. He doesn't have any home. Sthiramatihi. But the mind is established in that supreme, in the devotion to the Lord. Such a devotee, Bhagavan says, is dear to me. That shloka exactly applies to him here, Jada Bharat. So it's very strange. Unless somebody has walked the spiritual path or unless that master wants to reveal himself, one will not know who is a master and who is a madman. Because some of them will live like that. You saw even earlier Rishabh Devji, he lived in the Ajgar Vritti and he was lying in his own fecal matter, rolling in that, and one will never really know. So here it is. So he is living like that. Now one day what happens? There is a tribal chief. He had prayed to Bhagwan for a progeny, specifically Ma Kali, and he had said that if I get a child, then I will offer a Narabali. He was blessed with a child. Now he wants to offer Narabali, kill and offer the human being, like Pashubali, Narabali. Please remember, scripture doesn't sanction this. It calls it as a tamasic form of worship. It is not a regular thing to be done. And even in Tantra Shastra, it is requiring a very high level of qualification somebody has in Tantra. Then the Mamsa is offered. In Panchamakara Sadhana, when they do, in that Mamsa will be offered, Madhira will be offered, Maithuna will be offered. Like that, there are 5 things that they will offer. And that has to be done under supervision of a guru, and it's a very not a thing that common people do. What people think that, oh, Hinduism promotes animal sacrifice, human sacrifice, and that is all, they are rumors. Hindu culture doesn't say that you kill the animal and offer it to God and God will get pleased. That's a tamasic form of worship, and in Tantra specifically, they have a different path for it, and those they have a lot of conditions for it and eligibility for it. But somewhere it has got deteriorated, and people, for their selfish reasons, they say, if I get this, I will offer this. And so then this um, tribal chief, he had caught hold of a person for offering Narabali. Somehow the prarabdha of that person escaped. Now this chief said, you go and find, he told his soldiers, you go and find another person now. And they found this Jada Bharat is sitting there. He's a strong person, very, even with all this kind of a treatment, his body was quite strong. And he's supposed to be a dull person. So they saw, okay, he looks like a dull man. He has a strong body and he fits the criteria properly. So they captured and brought him. And so what happened there? This uh, tribal chief, he also saw, he examined, he said, this is the right person. Now they say that, they consider Jada Bharat to possess the qualities quite suitable, and they bound him, they brought him to the temple. Now Jada Bharat didn't protest at all. In his mind, he is thinking, chalo, it is good. This body will drop. I will be free from this also. So there is no protest in him. He is not attached. Anyway, he has gone beyond body identification. It doesn't matter to him at all. So he doesn't protest. Now, these dacoits and these tribal people, what they do, They do all this, they give him bath and they decorate him and then they feed him and they give him proper clothes, ornaments, everything, and they feed him properly. And then in front of Ma Kali, they make him kneel down, and on his neck, this priest, the chief priest, to please Bhadrakali, he has to kill, he has to behead him. No protest from Jada Bharat. He is not scared also. There is no fear in his mind. Willingly he is offering his neck. As this sword is raised by this chief priest, suddenly from that murti, Mother Kali appears, takes that very sword, beheads that chief priest, destroys all the other tribals and dacoits, whoever were there, and with her, all her other attendants have come. They also play the havoc. They destroy all of them. Jada Bharat alone is there, and they drink the blood of that priest and all the people whoever are there, and they use the heads as footballs and they play around with that. Jada Bharat is not affected by even any of this. He is lying there. He is watching all this is happening. Now, why did this happen? Because Jada Bharat is an Ananya Bhakta Bhagwan. Point one. He doesn't wish harm of anybody. Super sattvic in his mind, always absorbed in the meditation of Bhagwan. And such a person, one can't kill. Shastra also prohibits such a person from being killed. And this dacoits and this chief priest of the dacoits, all of them, they are doing it for a petty reason. They should have found out a proper person. First of all, Bali should not have been offered. But then they said, we will offer a Narabali. Then they found anybody. They don't have a capacity to judge who this person is. Especially in the case of Jada Bharat, they don't know. See, anybody else would have some kind of a resistance, some fight, some protest, some fear. Nothing. That itself is enough to actually make them understand that this is not an ordinary person. But they didn't have that sensitivity. And they want to become more rich. They want to become more famous. They want to offer the Narabali of such a great person for some petty reasons. And so, Mother Kali said, this is a great sin. And Bhagwan doesn't like any devotee being harmed. Bhagwan can't bear that. Especially Ananya Bhakta, Bhagwan himself has said, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. I will take care of the yoga and Kshema. I will protect. So, you see, even similar thing happened with Kapalikas and Shankaracharya. The Shankaracharya was also captured like this. He actually went by himself because they called him. So he went. And when he went there, they are trying to offer Bali of Shankaracharya to the Devi. There a little difference is Padmapada goes, he suspects that where is Acharya going, and he follows him, and he understood that this is Narabali that is going to happen here, and he is a upasak of Narasimha. He invokes Narasimha and he goes there and he kills all of the Kapalikas. So sometimes it happens like that, these great masters, Shankaracharya ji, even here Jada Bharat, they are not bothered about their body identification. They live in the oneness with the divine. And Bhagwan protects. For the divine work that Bhagwan has to get done through this body, Bhagwan has to protect. This Mahatma is not bothered about his body. So here Bhadrakali comes, leaping violently from the altar. She decapitated all the rogues and the thieves with that sword. And she drank with her associates the hot blood that flowed from their necks as if it were liquor. being intoxicated, they began to play with those heads, tossing them about like balls. So it is said here, when an envious person commits an offense before a great personality, he is always punished in this way. Now, why is it that Jada Bharat is not affected? Because he is a Param Bhagavata. He has experienced oneness with the divine. He is a Bhagavata Paramahamsa. So, that person has Vimukta Deha Atma Bhava Sudrida Hridaya Granthinam. That person has destroyed the Dehatma Bhava and also the Hridaya Granthi, Avidya Kama Karma. All that has been destroyed. They are Sarva Sattva Suhrit Atmanam. They are friends of all, they act for the welfare of all people. So even this dacoits and all that, the Shudra and the chief, tribal chief, all of them, he doesn't have any hatred towards them. If some, purpose of theirs is getting fulfilled, he says, all right. Never contemplates harming anybody, nirvairinam. Such devotees are always protected by the Lord. Because they have taken shelter of Bhagavan and fearless they are actually. You see in the life of Prahlad also the same thing happens. Bhagavan protects him. Please remember, this is not cowardice, this is not depression which leads a person to suicidal tendencies and then let anybody kill me, I don't have interest in life. It is not like that. It's a very high state of evolution. So now that episode happened, that's where chapter 9 ends. Now chapter 10 starts. There's another episode now in Jada Bharat's life. Now one interesting thing is this to understand in that story. All these people who were destroyed by Mother Kali, they all got mukti. Obviously not Jivan Mukti, but a higher level of mukti they got. Higher level meaning not higher than Jivan Mukti, obviously. Higher level meaning they will not go to regular, Swargaloka or some Pitruloka like that. They will attain higher worlds. They may even have some more punya and they may go to the same loka as Bhadrakali. So it depends on whatever their level of evolution and their karma. But see the compassion. Because of Jada Bharat, all these people got darshan of Bhagwan as well as the Bhakta, Ananya Bhakta. How much punya it is. One may think, oh God, this was so terrible, they all got killed because of him. They didn't get killed because of him. They were trying to kill him and Bhadrakali came and destroyed all of them. But in that process, they got liberated only because Bhagavan killed. And they saw Bhakta, Ananya Bhakta, all the more punya. So that is the grace and this compassion. Now you see that. Now, Jada Bharat, there's another episode now in this 10th chapter. So this king called Rahugana is a ruler of Sindhu and Sauvira. He was going to Kapil Ashram to learn about Vedanta, to have Brahmagyan, discussion on Brahmagyan. And there's a Palki. So when the command came that now the king wants to go to this Kapil Muni's ashram, 4 Palki bearers are required. The 4th fellow has disappeared somewhere. So now the king needs to go. So immediately they try finding out that who is one more person and they find that Jada Bharat is sitting somewhere. Very strong he looks. So they said, come. He also agreed. So he also came. They actually forced him. He was sitting quietly. They forced him, come, come, come. So they said, okay, chalo, I am coming, like that. He was not waiting for the king's people to come. They forced him, come on, king needs to go. You have to do this, that, all that. So he said, okay, I will come. Now, while the palki is being carried, he moves very carefully. He doesn't go straight. He sees on the ground ants and smaller beings which are there, and he tries to not step on them, and in that process he jumps here and there. So this palki is very uneven. Now the palki bearers, they are little scared and they are afraid of punishment. This king will punish us. um, so here he said that this palki bearers, the other three of them which are there, who are there, they said, see, we are walking properly, but this fourth man who has come, he is new, and now he is doing all this disturbance. So we are not negligent and are discharging your orders properly, but this new man does not walk swiftly, and therefore we are not able to carry the palki with him. Now this Rahugana, he becomes little upset because this Jada Bharat is not answering anything, and after some time he again continues to do the same thing. There is no difference. So the king became angry. His innate nature as a king also, and he invoked this, he became angry, and sarcastically he said these three things. He said, you must be fatigued from carrying the palki alone for so long and so far. Meaning you are not the only one, other people are also there, you be aware of that. So he taunted that you must be fatigued by carrying this palki alone, all alone for so long, and so far. You must be old and unhealthy without strong limbs. That's why you are not able to carry. Are your fellow carriers not cooperating with you? So now, Jada Bharat, he doesn't have any sense of ahamta, mamata, he doesn't have ego, he doesn't feel, I'm being insulted or being hurt, nothing. But he replies. So, he replies second time. First time, these three things he has said, Jada Bharat doesn't bother. He continues to do what he was doing. He tries to save the beings down there. Now this king gets much more angry. And he says, are you dead despite having life in this body? Don't you know that I am your master? And you are disregarding me, meaning I can do anything. You are mad, and for this disobedience, I will punish you. Now his taunt has gone. Now he has come straight to punishment. So this Rahugana, he has this body identification. He is actually going to the Kapil ashram for satsang on Vedanta, which is to say that I am not this body, mind, intellect, I am not the Jiva, I am Supreme Brahman. He is going for that satsang. But on the way, full body identification is there. So he says, I am the master, I will punish you. Anger has also come. See that tragedy there. Before we go into the ashram or we go and attend the satsang, after we come out of the satsang, if our mind is same with identified with the body and jiva bhav, then what is the point? One has to live also, after the satsang the same way. Jada Bharat is living that, and this king is not living that way. He is fully identified, attached to his body, his jiva bhav. So, Nara Abhiman he has, he is influenced by passion and ignorance. Mother he has, he is intoxicated. But he thinks of himself as a very great man, Panditam Maninam. And he also does not understand that this Jada Bharat is not an ordinary person, he is a great yogi. So he chastises him. Jada Bharat is completely opposite. He is a devotee of Bhagavan and the dear abode of the Lord. So Bhagavat Priya Niketanam. He is self-realized, Brahma Bhuta, free from pride, Vigata Smayaha, friend of all the living beings, Sarva Bhuta Suhrit Atma. Now he smiles and he compassionately replies. Now see what he replies. So what he says, the comment that was made, na, you must be fatigued. The taunt that he made, you see earlier, first taunt was you must be fatigued. Then must be old. Second taunt, your fellow carriers are not cooperating with you. So to that first taunt that you must be fatigued, see the answer. He says that your words are actually true, not sarcastic. The Lord, the path of travel and destination belong to the body and not to me. For I am the Atma. Being detached from the body, I am not fatigued carrying the palki. In the body, maybe I am not. I am the Atma. The body can be fatigued because of the load and the journey and the length of the time and duration and all that. I am not fatigued. I am the Atma. Then the second comment was, you must be weak. You see that? You must be old and unhealthy without strong limbs. So he says fatness, thinness, body and mental distress, thirst, hunger, fear, disagreement, desires for material happiness, old age, sleep, attachment for material possessions, anger, lamentation, illusion, body identification, they all are transformation of the material covering of the spirit. These things affect a person absorbed in bodily conception, but I am free from all such conceptions. Then, when second time he got angry, that king said, are you dead despite having life within your body? So here he says, this is the case everywhere because everything material in this world has a beginning, has an end, meaning this body is perishable. It is dead by itself even now. And when he said that I am the master, for disobeying me, I am going to punish you. So he says that, today you are a king and I am a servant, but tomorrow these positions may change. He said, except that loka vyavahar of, Raja, Praja and all that, I don't see any distinction and who is the master and who is the servant. But if you think you are the king, okay, then what can I do for you? You tell me. When he said, I will punish you, so he says, what will you gain by punishing me? Even if I am mad, your punishment will be like beating a dead horse or like grinding flour. Or punishment doesn't cure madness. It can only make one more insane. So, Jada Bharat answered all this very peacefully, balanced way. And he is not insulting the king, he is directly giving knowledge. And he is clarifying his position that he doesn't operate from body standpoint or jiva standpoint, he operates from Brahman standpoint only. And that alone is the truth. Now, somebody says that if Jada Bharat did not have this body identification, why did he even respond? See, he didn't respond for the first time. First two times. Once the palki bearers told him, he didn't respond. Then the king told him, taunted him, he didn't respond. But the third time he responded, not because he felt that his ego has been hurt or, that he has to clarify his position, otherwise they are misunderstanding him, nothing like that. He answered because he wanted to enlighten Rahugana. So he answered for that. He also answered because if that is the way in which Rahugana's prarabdha karma and his own prarabdha karma also will get exhausted. He didn't have any other agenda behind it, or personally he felt hurt or anything like that. Nothing. Out of compassion, he answered. Out of understanding that some karma is getting exhausted because they both have come together. There's something that has to happen, some exchange between them. So he explained. And what he said is only of going to bring benefit to Rahugana. It is not going to harm him in any ways. And in fact, what he said is something that is very rare. Now, people don't get to listen to these things, unless there is some past karma, some punya, Ishwar Kripa, one will not come across Vedanta at all. And upon that, he is a yogi, he is a realized person whose mind revels in that. So, out of great love and compassion, he just spoke. Now, Rahugana understood that this person is not an ordinary person. Any ordinary palki bearer can't talk all this. And so, he said that you move about covered and unknown to others. Who are you? Are you a learned Brahmana? Are you a liberated saint like Dattatreya? Whose disciple are you? Where do you live? Have you come to benefit us? Are you Kapil Muni himself or are you Narayana? Rahugana recognizes his mistake and so he says that, I am not afraid of Indra's thunderbolt or Shiva's trident or Yamaraj's punishment or fire or scorching sun, the moon, the wind or even Kubera's weapon. But I am afraid of offending Brahmanas. So he falls at the feet of this Rahugana. Rahugana falls at the feet of Jada Bharat. So he says that you are not having any material possession, you are asangaha, you are apparently dull-witted, so you look like a, Jadavan, but you are full of knowledge and powerful, Vijnana Virya. Why are you moving around like this, like a dull person? He said, I am not able to understand fully what words he said, now what Upadesha he gave. He said, I am not able to understand fully, please explain to me. I understand you are a great yogi, the one of the best gurus. And Bhagwan Kapil himself has come here. He is Jnana Avatar, Kapil Muni, Jnana Avatar. So since Bhagwan Kapil himself has come, so why are you wandering in this world? Do you want to examine the people and see their condition and help them? What is your main objective? Loka Nirikshanartham. Have you come here? How can an attached householder, blind to spiritual knowledge, understand the movements of such great yogis? So now, this Jada Bharat has been recognized by this king, and the king couldn't fully comprehend what replies Jada Bharat gave, because he is also going to the ashram of Kapil Muni to gain the knowledge of Brahman, to have some satsang on Vedanta. He is going there. On the way, all this has happened. So, to the answers that Jada Bharat has given, in those answers, he has a doubt. So he asks the doubt. Now you see there. So when he said, you appear to be fatigued and all that, from long carrying palki for so long, for so far and all that, Jada Bharat said that all that fatigue, etc., belongs to the body, it doesn't belong to me. So one example is given here, you see, that through the body, it will be the soul only which gets fatigued. No doubt body is fatigued, but soul also will be fatigued. Why? So the example he gives is like the fire. So on the fire, there is a pot which is being heated. There is milk in the pot and the rice inside that milk. So when the pot is heated, inside that milk and the rice also will get heated and it will get cooked. The rice will get cooked. Same way, this body is like the pot. And there is a Jivatma inside, there is a soul inside, and so obviously the soul also will get fatigued. So he says that. So there is a question that due to bodily pains and pleasures, the senses, the mind, and soul are affected. So how do you say that you are not affected? So that's a question. Then, when he spoke about this master and servant, that relationship, everything is anyway temporary. So he says that it may be temporary, but this is a duty. Na? The king has a position, and in that position, as a king, as a duty, as a king, what he has to do? Whatever are the duties, levy the taxes, do the development with that money that is achieved, and then ensure that nyaya is given, justice is done, dharma is being followed, and if somebody is not following dharma, um, they have to be even punished. So danda has to be given. So he says all that is the duty, vyavahara, that I have to do. He says even if the king's position is temporary and conventional, it is his duty to rule and punish the disobedient citizens and thus teach the citizens to obey the state laws. Then he said that punishing a madman is useless. So he says that punishing is not useless if one is engaged in one's duty as ordered by the Lord. A king engaged in his dharma of punishing the citizens worships the Lord and vanquishes all his sins. Now, he says, so he asks all these questions, and these are doubts that he has raised. But he recognizes that here is not an ordinary person, and how the king has behaved with arrogance and ego and rudeness to him. So he says that being puffed up with false prestige due to possessing the body of a king, I have offended you. I pray that you glance upon me with mercy, so that I can be relieved from this sin of neglecting a devotee. So he surrenders, he accepts humbly. He says that you are the friend of the Lord, who is the friend of all. Vishwa Suhrit Sakhasya. Sakhasya, not Sakhasya, Sakhasya. So you are the friend of the Lord, who is the friend of the whole universe. There is no loss and gain for you due to my insult. Personally, you are not offended by it. But because of this offense, though I may be as strong as Lord Shiva, I will still be vanquished. Because he has offended a Ananya Bhakta of Bhagavan. So he says, you please forgive me and also please enlighten me on all this. So now Jada Bharat will instruct Rahugana. That portion we will take up next class, because that's a new chapter. That's chapter 11. I don't want to stop in between there. We will take it up together properly. So for today we will stop here. This in Dongri Maharaj's commentary, beautifully he has said here that a devotee of Bhagavan will go by the wish of the Lord alone, and a Jnani doesn't have attachment to the body, and the body has to drop because it has its own prarabdha. So till then it will continue. So Jnani's interest is only that much, that his body's prarabdha has to get exhausted. And so the scriptures say that a seeker, how does a seeker walk? See that. 4 feet. The seeker's eye should be on the ground, and one looks only at 4 feet ahead and keeps walking with alertness. One doesn't, especially, there are some people who will follow this to the T. They don't want to interact with people, because if you make eye contact, then you start interacting. You have to see, then they will smile, you will smile, or you smile, they smile, then some Hari Om, hi, how are you, all that will happen. He says, seeker whose mind is fully on Bhagavan, doesn't want to interact with people, looks only 4 feet ahead on the ground and walks with full alertness. And so that's what this, why does that seeker also do that? Because if you walk like that, what will happen? The eyes will be steady. Through that, the mind will become steady. Otherwise, when we don't look at one place and keep walking, we're looking here, there, everywhere, what is all around us, who are the people, what kind of images are there, what kind of food is there. Oh, our mind wanders into all this. Here are great people who don't have any interest in the world. They live like that. Just 4 feet ahead they will see and they will keep walking. Eyes are steady, the mind is thinking about Bhagwan. And that's how the sadhak lives. Especially somebody who is very intensely seeking the truth. Doesn't want to get disturbed by anything. So the Jada Bharat, he was walking like that. Only 4 feet ahead he will see. And in that, if there are any creatures who are coming, he moves. He doesn't kill them, he doesn't step on them. He jumps or he does anything to avoid them. Alright, so let's stop here. We will do the arati.
मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति धूम की, मंगल कांति हसनी दसनन की, मंगल मुरली दीना धुन की, मंगल आरती। मंगल बणिक त्रिभंगी हरि की, मंगल सेवा सब सहचर की, मंगल सिर चंद्रिका मुकुट की, मंगल छवि नयन में अटकी, मंगल आरती। पभी अंग अंग की, मंगल गौर श्याम रंग की, मंगल अति कटि पियरे पट की, मंगल चितमणि नागर नट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल शोभा कमल नयन की, मंगल माधुरी मृदुल पैन की, मंगल वृंदावन मद अटकी, मंगल क्रीडन जमुना तट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल चरण अरुण तरुवन की, मंगल करणी भगति हरिजन की, मंगल जुगल प्रिया भावन की, मंगल श्री राधा जीवन की, मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति डोल की, मंगल आरती। मंगल आरती। राधावर कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम्, नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतो यमग्निः, तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं, तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की।
ओम पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। हाँ ज्योत्सना जी।
Swamiji, I just wanted to ask you, in the previous session, I could only hear half of it. where that king whose son is vain and who's so horrible, and he tries to make him okay. Finally, he says he leaves his kingdom and goes to the forest, saying, I think the purpose of this son was that so I could leave everything and go to the forest. But would that not be escapist? Why didn't he punish his son and do whatever was necessary instead of leaving him and going to the forest? Would it be an escapism?
Bhagavat clearly says he tried everything, no? Sama,
Yeah.
Tama, Veda, Danda, everything he tried.
Hmm.
After that, he left. He didn't. If he had tried, if he had not tried and he had left, then that is escapism. He had tried everything. You see the chapter. If you read that very clearly, it is said there that he chastised him. He tried to cajole him, tried to encourage him, tried to satisfy his desire. Nothing worked for him. So finally, he said, "Now this son has given." The whole portion is there saying that a son like this is to give vairagya only, and there's no point staying back here. And so he goes quietly. He leaves in the night.
Wouldn't he have got him killed, or is that against the custom to, punish such a bad person and get him killed instead, so that he wouldn't trouble the praja after that, after he left?
See, he can't do that. It is not. He cannot kill his son that way because the son has his own prarabdha also. No, he can't say that because I can't transform him, so I better kill him. Maybe there will be somebody else who will transform him, right? Or maybe he
Okay.
may not get transformed. So that is up to his life. That he can't handle that. For a specific crime that if he has done, then that for that crime as a king he can punish. But for his tendencies like this, he can't kill him.
Okay.
Yeah, because then that means that if the king can't transform, that means nobody can transform him. That is not the right conclusion, right? Because there may be other great sadhus, yogis, anybody, so people can transform him, and his life will take a turn whenever it has to. So he can't take that call and just kill his son.
Okay, got it. Because that was I was wondering, is it escapism? Okay, thank you, Swamiji. Got my answer.
Yeah.